couple videos ago, I shared a little cinematic boxing short I had made. I was pretty happy with how this came out, so I wanted to make a quick breakdown on how I went about shooting and editing this video. Please consider subscribing if you haven't already, because I will be sharing consistent, helpful videos like this. But let's get into the first part, which is shooting. So for shooting, I was obviously using my Canon C70 as the title indicated, combined with mostly my EF 16-35 as well as my RF 24-70 and EF 70-200. My purpose for this shoot was to capture all aspects of the fight and try to tell a progressive story throughout all the different fights. I actually made a separate recap video for the gym who hired me, focusing on specific fighters. However, I made this separate edit as a way to showcase my work and kind of the way that I wanted to. But mostly while I was shooting, I had a couple things in mind. First, I knew that I had to get a variety of different angles. There was over 7 fights that night, so I knew that if I camped out and filmed from the same angle, it would get very repetitive and create a boring edit. So I made sure I was moving around a lot, getting different angles, different focal lengths, different perspectives, and that helped me so much in the edit to make a more engaging piece. Second, I knew I had to work around the ropes of the ring. This was honestly the biggest challenge that I had not prepared for. I was planning on using my 24-70 for most of the shoot. However, it ended up just being too tight, especially when I put my camera underneath the ropes. I ended up keeping my 16-35 on for most of the fight, and I'm very happy I did. This allowed me to get some great, unique, low angles looking up at the boxers. This accomplished a couple goals of avoiding those ropes, which kind of ruined the shot, as well as making the boxers seem a lot more powerful and intimidating from that low, wide angle. Then the third thing I had to keep in mind was my exposure. I knew I was gonna go for more of a vintage, kind of grungy look to match the vibe of the gym and the music I was using. So I was very careful to maintain my proper exposure, and I think I did a pretty good job at that. And then finally, the biggest thing I was focusing on was just cool compositions. So this year, my goal for myself is to kind of make that jump from a videographer who focuses on just capturing what is in front of him to a cinematographer who takes the action that's in front of him and makes the most beautiful image possible out of that action. So I found myself during this event being a lot more intentional with where I was positioning myself to see what was in the background as well as where the action was. Obviously, I'm still learning, but I'm definitely excited about this new focus of creating beautiful images. And now for part 2, the edit. For the edit, there was honestly nothing too crazy here. My main focus again was on the cinematography. However, I did really want the edit to tell a story about the fight. I intentionally chose more cinematic music, mostly to just switch it up. I was getting pretty sick of the hip hop that I've been using a lot, and I kind of wanted to switch up the vibe a little bit. In the edit, I was very intentional with the order of clips. So as you can see, I started with a wide shot of the outside of the gym. This is an establishing shot to set the scene of where the event was taking place. You can kind of see the different color contrasts of the blue and the warm coming from inside the gym. I thought this was a pretty good eye-catching shot to start on that kind of sets the scene for the whole video. And then I cut to a wide shot of the interior of the gym. This is a symmetrically composed shot that also sets the scene for where the boxing ring is compared to the crowd. This just lets the viewer get situated in the space. And then from here, I'm cutting 2 shots of people warming up and getting ready for the fights, and then the bell rings and the fights happen. So this is a clear progression from outside to inside to warming up and then to the fights. And then besides this, there was nothing too crazy besides the color grading. This has kind of been my main focus recently in addition to cinematography. So I recently made the switch to DaVinci Resolve. I made a full video on why I made that switch if you want to check it out. But basically, again, I was going for this more vintage look. So I color graded my footage accordingly. I spent a lot more time kind of fine tuning these colors, adding grain, adding halation, and just kind of switching it up from what I've normally done. I've kept my looks in the past pretty neutral and kind of commercially, so I kind of wanted to get a little creative with this one and match the vibe that I had in my mind. I was pretty happy with how it came out. You know, looking back at it already, there was a couple things I would change in the coloring, but overall I think it was pretty good for the goal I had in mind. So that was just a little breakdown from this film. I hope you were able to take a couple pieces of insight from this. I'm by no means claiming this is the best boxing film ever made, but I had fun making it, and my hope is that you guys were able to take a couple pieces of advice from this little breakdown. Please consider subscribing if you haven't already. I'm going to be posting consistent helpful videos like this, but thank you guys for watching.